Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It's David Schlotthauer here with a live tropical update on PTC 5 for August the 11th on this Sunday, 2024 at approximately 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We've been keeping an eye on this disturbance over the last several days, now organized enough and the confidence is now high enough from the National Hurricane Center where there is now watches out for these islands. So this is now being dubbed as a potential tropical cyclone. This is this is not anything like a hurricane or a tropical storm or a tropical depression. What this means is that there are chances or likelihoods that this does become a tropical storm. That would be Ernesto on our list of named storms. So actually, let's bring up our epic pin here. It's giving me a little bit of a feisty time. Hopefully, there we go. It is now working. So we again have potential tropical cyclone 5 headed for the northern Windward Islands and the Greater Antilles, and even the Leeward Islands as well. When we zoom in and examine this wave a little closer, we can see that the system does not possess a closed circulation at all. We're still seeing a deformity in the circulation here. We have southwesterly winds doing this, and then the winds are pretty strong on the northern side, and then they come down like this out of the northeast. So we do have a wave axis here located and oriented roughly about 50 degrees west in longitude, and this wave should more than likely consolidate once it gets into, say, the northeastern Caribbean, I should say, and then into the southwestern Atlantic. So now some of you are probably asking, why is the system not very struggling to develop? By the way, questions will be at the end of the live stream if you all are asking questions. I like to just kind of go straight into the discussions and then get to those questions after my discussion. There's always time for that. So the reason why this is going to struggle for at least another 24 hours is if we look at the water vapor imagery. Again, the dark colors here indicate drier air in the deep layers of the atmosphere. This is a water vapor plot, not a cloud plot like we could otherwise see. So the brighter gray colors indicate more moisture in the atmosphere. So we have a lot of pretty good moist pocket here of moisture, a good wave envelope, and the system is right within the northern lobe of this. But what we also do see on this water vapor imagery is, see these feathery white cirrus? These are moving pretty quickly out of the easterly direction over this wave pocket. So not only do we have wind shear on the system, but the vortex is not really vertically stacked and well aligned and in depth to allow the system to go to make a beeline or to make an ACE score of a rapidly intensifying system. Instead, the system is going to struggle for at least 24 hours or so. But once it gets into the Greater Antilles, eventually we should see things change dramatically. In fact, if we look at the Western Atlantic sector here, actually not that. Let's look at the Central Atlantic. This kind of gives us a little bit more of a zoomed out view, showing us what the environment looks like. So when we look downstream here, we do have this Tut cell. This is an upper level tropospheric trough, or tropical upper level tropospheric trough, TUT for short. And we do have vertical shear impinging over this area, but what's going to end up happening is, as this wave gets better organized, this outflow, this easterly outflow, this is what we call the African easterly jet over the Atlantic, and this is going to actually help to nudge this trough, yank it eastward or westward as this outflow from this disturbance moves into this area. So even so, there is a hostile environment over the southwestern Atlantic. That is going to be changing in earnest as this wave gets closer. So here's a look at the latest NHC outlook. We're going to be looking at the models here. So we're going to be doing a full rundown tackle of the system as this remains a big threat to the Greater Antilles and the Windward Islands. Looking at the NHC forecast here, there is indeed actually a PTC on this. So there is a 90% chance, even 100% chance of this developing into a named system, which would be Ernesto in about a day and a half or two. And as it gets over these islands, this would be by Tuesday afternoon. So nearly, you have a little less than 2 days to get prepared for this. And this is not just a weak low-end tropical storm. This could develop quite quickly as it moves over these islands. So anyone living, and I'll kind of look at Google Maps here so I can show you in detail which islands need to be watching this. And then eventually, once this makes a turn to the north, that's what we are seeing in today's model guidance. There has been a significant trend and a narrowing of the consistency here, showing that this system will turn north, and any impacts to Florida now look very unlikely. So good news for anyone living in Florida. All you're going to probably be seeing is some surf emanating out from this, which we will show you here in the video. Winds are at 30 miles an hour. This is not to be confused with the tropical depression. A tropical depression usually has a persistent burst of deep convection and a closed circulation. As we mentioned in this video, if we play this through one last time, this is elongated. This is not a closed circulation. Based on the fact that we have winds that are doing this. We even have light winds somewhere right over here even. So this is trying to close up, but it's not doing so efficiently because, again, the shear that is plaguing the system from the easterly direction. So right now, this looks fairly weak and will be strengthening on approach to these islands and then becoming a formidable hurricane, perhaps close to a major hurricane in about 4 or 5 days. So here's a look at the product advisory on PTC 5. This disturbance is expected to become a tropical storm before reaching the Leeward Islands, where tropical storm watches are in effect. Tropical storm conditions could begin on Tuesday for portions of the area. Heavy rainfall may result in locally considerable flash flooding and mudslides in portions of the northern Leeward Islands Tuesday and Wednesday, and into Puerto Rico Wednesday and Thursday. Let's actually go to Google Earth and show you where, actually Google Maps, that's probably more simple since I can just search it up here. And we're actually going to look at what islands are going to be most affected here. It's a good idea that we take a look at this. So if we look at this on Google Maps, if you're on Anguilla, so if you're on Anguilla, as well as Antigua, Bermuda, as well as St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as Montserrat, and Guadeloupe, need to be watching this, all right? Even so, this is not going to be a hurricane or anything. There will be impacts. There will be surf of up to maybe perhaps, say, 10 or 15 feet. There will be a lot of heavy rainfall and some strong winds. The fat side, the northern side, will take the brunt with the strongest winds. So keep that in mind. If this kind of cuts across Guadeloupe and then turns north like this into Puerto Rico, this portion of the track, the northern side, we'll see perhaps tropical storm force, even hurricane force winds, especially over the British Virgin Islands, as this will strengthen with time. So like I said, even so, people in my past videos, which again, I do not appreciate, saying that this is going to be a fish storm, there won't be impacts, let's ignore this, let's not worry about this, is not a very smart thing to do, because even so, this is even a fish storm. Again, the difference here is, let's just kind of focus on an island here, Bermuda. If the system does this and gets mere miles away from, say, Bermuda, which is again in the Greater Antilles, Lesser Antilles area, these northern Windward Islands, Leeward Islands, I should say, this is technically a fish storm. All right, so don't think that, oh, it's a fish storm, it's going to be maybe 150 miles off the coast of these islands, we should not worry. I don't think that is a good idea. I really don't. And I know you all are scared of this. I understand. I feel you. We saw this coming, though. The hurricane season, folks, get that in your mind. We are in the uptrend of the active period, the meat of the hurricane season. And this is to be expected. I mean, with a ridge to the north for right now, steering this generally this way, these islands will be impacted. Even so, it does not make exact centralized landfall on these islands. It's not going to matter. It really isn't going to matter a whole lot. And so you all definitely need to be paying attention to this, because all I can do is make sure you all are prepared for a potential landfall on some of these islands. But you also have to be prepared if this is still a fish storm, because this is going to come close to these islands. Landfall or not, it's not going to matter a whole lot. So please understand that. Puerto Rico, really prone to getting a lot of heavy rainfall, especially once the southern side of this system, like if it goes like this, you get these southerly winds that encroach onto Puerto Rico. Actually, let's bring up Google Earth here really quickly so I can give you some schematics of the topography, terrain of Puerto Rico and some of these islands on what they can do with the rainfall. Pretty interesting to say the least. Just because, I should not worry about this. You might need to worry about this, all right? And it's a good idea that we raise the alarm bells just to be on the safer side, because that's my job, is to make sure you all are prepared and don't be scared. Okay, so this is what could happen if the system passes north of Puerto Rico and northeast. You get southerly flow. So actually, let's do this, and let me do a full screen view of this so you all kind of get a visualization. You could actually get a lot of orographic effects, so you can get a lot of upslope flow here, squeezing out a lot of this precipitation. So keep that in mind, that lots of rainfall is expected over the southern slopes here of Puerto Rico. And yes, we got villages, we got people's houses that are down in these canyons, and you could see a lot of flooding. A lot, I mean, we could see potentially life-threatening flooding. Not catastrophic, not in that sort of thing. Don't be surprised if that does happen in some localized areas, but definitely some life-threatening flooding, because you can think about all this runoff is going to kind of collect down here into these gorges, and it's going to cause problems. So keep that in mind. Southern facing slopes here are going to get a lot of the orographic effects on the southern facing slopes of Puerto Rico. Versus the leeward side, you might only get maybe 1 or 2 inches, versus the southern sides here might get as much as 5 to 8 inches of rainfall. That's a lot of water. Okay, same thing like the Virgin Islands. British Virgin Islands are not very tall here, only about a few hundred feet above the surface. So orographic effects here probably not going to be a big significant concern. But on some, like on these bigger islands that have higher terrain, might see a little bit of orographic effects. Like St. Kitts and Nevis, this is Nevis right here, the island. Taking a little while to load here, but you can see little volcano here up to about 3,000 feet. So you can kind of get an idea here. The coloration, a lot of trees here, a lot of shrub, tells us that this is a very wet environment. And if you get that orographic effect here on the backside, you can get some localized forcing around this mountainside. So keep that in mind too. Some localized topography enhancement of rainfall that is anticipated. So just keep that in mind. Additional watches and warnings will be needed. So here's a good example of that. Let me zoom this out. This is really zoomed in. So let's go back to the graphics here on the NHC. And we can see, like I said, what we have here, the ending result, again, localized 8 inches. That's what I just got done saying, 8 inches for orographic effects. You know, if you go to Jamaica, very classic textbook, very tall mountains there. The Dominican Republic, tall mountains here too. But of course, the system's going to be far enough to the north where you're not going to get very strong inflow, as strong of inflow that should be. And you're not going to see as big of a orographic forcing kind of effect. But you can see here, even the northwestern portion of Puerto Rico here, you might only get 2 inches. Versus areas here, you might get 8 inches, maybe even 9 inches perhaps. Say Croy over here, 4 to 6 inches, and all these islands up to 6 inches. So just because, oh, it's not a hurricane, whatever, David. Stop hyping things up. I'm telling you, we kind of do need to hype this up because this is going to bring impacts, rainfall impacts, and breezy wind impacts. Actually, not breezy, really windy impacts to these areas. Okay, so keep that in mind. So the earliest arrival time of tropical storm force winds are as follows here. You can see probably by Tuesday morning with a 30 to 40% chance of tropical storm force winds. And of course, for Puerto Rico here, you have a 50 to even 60% chance of tropical storm force winds arriving in your area. And then of course, out here for shipping interests like boats, ships, cruise liners, yep, you have a 50%, 60% chance of tropical storm force winds. And then let's not forget our friends in Bermuda. You have a 20 to even 10 to 20% chance of tropical storm force winds impacting your area by Thursday afternoon, evening, more like Thursday evening. So by the end of this work week, there's going to be impacts there too with tropical storm force winds perhaps. Even so, the center does not impact Bermuda directly. There will be some intense winds. Remember, the wind field, it goes far from the center. Keep that in mind. Okay, and the system that goes north like this tends to get a fatter wind field. The wind field expands. Even so, maybe the category doesn't go up very much. So product discussion here. We will be reading this since this is a fairly important one. All right. Oops. Come on. Work with me, computer. So again, you can see here, potential Tropical Cyclone 5 discussion number 1. National Weather Service, again, in Hurricane Center has issued this. So NHC has been monitoring the broad area of low pressure associated with a tropical wave over the tropical Atlantic during the past several days. Satellite images and earlier ASCAT data indicate that the low has a broad circulation, not a compact one, and even probably a non-closed circulation as well. But there is no evidence of a well-defined center yet. The associated shower and thunderstorm activity is continuing to show signs of organization, but visible satellite data suggests that dry air is entraining into the circulation. However, since the disturbance is forecast to become a tropical storm in the next day or so, and there is a risk of tropical storm force winds across portions of the Leeward Islands during that time, advisories are being initiated on potential Tropical Cyclone 5. The NOAA and Air Force hurricane hunters will be flying the system on Monday. So they're going to be flying into the system and will provide better assessment, and then we'll actually be able to feed better model data. So that way models can better correct themselves. The estimated motion of potential Tropical Cyclone 5 is about 285, so more like to the west-northwest at 18 knots. The track guidance is in fairly good agreement on a fast west-northwestward motion during the next couple of days. This motion should bring the system near or over the Leeward Islands on Tuesday. Thereafter, a deep layer trough moving off the eastern seaboard. We will talk about that in our model data, including the turn to the northwest by Wednesday and then to the north thereafter. This should bring the system in the general vicinity of the Virgin Islands in Puerto Rico Tuesday night, and then emerging into the Atlantic north of Puerto Rico on Wednesday. The NHC track forecast is based on a blend of the latest GFS and European models and their ensembles. Users should keep in mind, here's a big one, users should keep in mind that the track forecasts for potential tropical cyclones are inherently more uncertain than normal since the system lacks a well-defined center. Please keep that in mind, folks, please. Until a closed, well-defined circulation develops, we do not know exactly where and which islands this will impact. Say if the closed circulation develops just before the islands and moves over Dominica, then this gives more water time over and south of Puerto Rico before that turn to the north, which means this could go a little further west. Then versus if the track goes like this, then it goes further east a little more and then impacts Bermuda. So that's going to be very important here. We are not done seeing shifts with the track guidance, okay? So that's why let's not call this a fish storm yet until whatever happens over these islands, okay? We will know in a couple of days, maybe even in 3 days, if this or isn't a fish storm. Potential Tropical Cyclone 5 is currently located in an environment of moderate easterly vertical wind shear. And we talked about this belt, okay, this belt of easterly flow. Oops, my pin is acting a little cranky today. So this is what we're seeing right here, this easterly flow encroaching on the system. Remember, vertical wind shear is basically wind direction change with height. So we're basically seeing the system moving a little slower than this upper level flow. So there is the system is actually moving. Yeah, the system's actually moving slower than the upper level winds. So therefore, you're actually getting easterly shear on the system. That's basically what we're dealing with right now. But once the system gets away from this belt of enhancement of easterly winds from Africa, then the system will likely be able to strengthen quite dramatically, perhaps. So over the next day or two, the wind shear is forecast to decrease some while the disturbance moves into an increasingly unstable environment. Given the current organizational state of the convection and low-level wind structure, the system likely needs at least one or more days before it can organize into a tropical cyclone. Around that time, the system reaches the Leeward Islands. It will be moving into an increasingly conducive environment for strengthening. Therefore, once the system is able to develop an inner core, it should have an opportunity to strengthen at a faster rate. The favorable environment will likely continue in the 3 to 5 day time frame, and this system is forecasted to be a strengthening hurricane when it is moving northward over the western Atlantic. The NHC forecast is slightly below the intensity consensus, which we will look at also in this discussion in the short term, but falls in line within the consensus aids beyond a couple of days. And we can see here the intensity forecast calling this to become a Category 2 hurricane in about 4 days. So Category 1 by 3 days, Category 2 in 2 days, and then almost a Category 3 hurricane in about 5 days. So definitely notable increase in winds here. Once this gets beyond about 2 days, we should see a much faster rate of strengthening, possibly within the 3 to 4 day time frame. What I've highlighted here, this could strengthen at a explosive rate, perhaps. Something that we don't want to see if you're on Bermuda, but unfortunately that might be the case this go around, as we have 110 mile an hour winds in the forecast on the NHC forecast. So looking at the European deterministic forecast here, by the way, please share this live stream with your family and friends on social media. Again, let's get this out to a broader audience, and also subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already, and like the stream too. It really helps out a lot, okay? I will be doing these live streams quite often depending on this situation as it evolves with PTC 5. So here's a look at the European surface wind. And as we can see here, on this particular model, this is not a closed wave or a closed circulation. You can still see winds doing this out of the southwesterly direction. Then they curve rapidly around out of the northeasterly direction over the northern Leeward Islands. So we have a wave axis that is like this on the Euro model, which could be possible given the current state of the organization of PTC 5. And then once this gets over Puerto Rico or near Puerto Rico, this could close up fairly quickly with winds out of the northwesterly direction on the southwestern side of the wave. And then we have possibly tropical depression or storm force winds on the Euro. But there's more intense models than what we're seeing here, and this is more on the lower end of the scale. But either way, once this gets out into the southwestern Atlantic and then eventually near Bermuda, this could strengthen a little faster and possibly become a hurricane even on the European model here, with winds of about 75 to 80 miles an hour as this leaves the image. And of course, when we look at the entire basin, areas like, say, Canada definitely need to be watching this one, because you can see this does get a little, not too close, but there's also a lot of uncertainty in the track forecast. As you can see here on the Euro, that's a 12Z run, 06Z run, this had it a little further north. But remarkably, the Euro is handling this pretty well, and that's what is most important. Now, looking at the GFS model, in this case, the GFS is probably the go-to model at this point, showing a closed circulation a little more faster. And we'll be showing the icon here in a second, but you can see this wind field over these islands. And if we actually zoom a little closer to the Lesser Antilles, if we go back here to the a little earlier time, we can see that there is going to be wind here. Winds, sustained winds, possibly near 30 miles an hour. So even so, the circulation is down here, that tropical storm force wind field, you can see this wave axis, southerly wind here, northeasterly wind here, and you have winds over the northern Lesser Antilles that are approaching 30 to even 34 miles an hour. So that is quite dramatic here. Even so, this impacts, say, Dominica and as well as Martinique, and then Dominica is down here, vice versa. And you can see the tropical storm force wind field developing pretty quickly. And then once this gets into perhaps Puerto Rico, still showing a southerly trend here on this model, showing it even going over southern Puerto Rico too. And if a wave envelope does develop in this favor, boy, this could be really, really strong winds hitting southern Puerto Rico here with winds maybe 60 miles an hour. And boy, that is a lot of orographic potential here. Lots of rain, lots of flooding. Keep in mind that orographic, that southerly flow hitting these mountains in orthogonal, which is more than favorable. I mean, extremely favorable for significant orographic effects of heavy rainfall. And then, of course, the leeward side might not get as much rain at all, but you will still get something nevertheless. And then that moves off. And then even the southern tip of this moves over. But we can see still there are still wrinkles in the GFS. If we look at the 12Z run, this was a lot stronger and much further to the northeast. So interesting, we are not done seeing variabilities in this track guidance. In fact, it was 0Z yesterday had it over here, 06Z over here, and then your 12Z still over the same area, and all of a sudden now it's way down here. So we are not done. I want to make it clear, we are not done seeing shifts back and forth here, and that makes all the difference. I repeat, all the difference between serious flooding for Puerto Rico and some of the Virgin Islands or serious winds instead. How about that? So yeah, definitely not done here. And then otherwise, if we looked at the 12Z run here, you can see definitely 60 to 70 mile an hour winds and even a hurricane here, not far or getting close to a hurricane, just to the north of Puerto Rico on the 12Z model run. So there is a lot of variability here, to say the least. If we look at the Icon model, which is more on the higher end of the scale, it does not show much development with this wave as much, okay? Also, a possible scenario here. Keep in mind, models are used differently here. The Euro is one model, the GFS is another, the Icon's another model. And even the Icon still has this moving to the southwest of Puerto Rico with still southerly winds. But once this leaves the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, however you have it, once this gets far enough north, this could strengthen very quickly. Very quickly. So, in fact, actually, let's use the 12Z run instead. That still showed the system in the same spot. This really strengthens at a very quick rate, perhaps even major hurricane intensity very close to Bermuda. And this is the furthest west we have the guidance versus a GFS model, more over Bermuda. In fact, if we look at Bermuda, let's go back here. Yeah, that's hurricane force winds, most certainly. Look at that. That is 87, maybe even 90 mile an hour winds over the small island of Bermuda here. So that's why we are not taking our attention off of this, okay? Because if this goes north and it makes landfall on Bermuda, you can't call this a fish storm anymore, right? So I just wanted to make that clear with everybody that lives in these islands. You need to not stop your preparations, okay? because these could surprise us. We all thought, oh, Beryl's only going to be a Cat 1 or a Cat 2 once it enters the Eastern Caribbean. Instead, it became one of the strongest, historically speaking, the strongest Cat 5 ever on record in early July and late June timeframe, when its origins dated back to late June. So it goes to show you that these could surprise us in under favorable conditions, and we cannot take our focus off of this. Okay. Let's see here. Let's take a look at the. If we do, I don't know if we even have our hurricane models. Praise the Lord that we do have our hurricane models, and we do the halves A on 98L. Actually, let's use the H-Wharf. So here's a more possible scenario. This is the H-Wharf model, a hurricane-specific model, and we can see here, this is a different situation. Clearly a hurricane, possibly even at times a hurricane, even when it gets just past Guadeloupe. And this gets just to the northeast of Puerto Rico. Here's Puerto Rico for reference. Here are the Virgin Islands. Here is Anguilla and Anguilla, as well as I forgot how I pronounce the other one, Anguilla or Anguilla, something like that. Still expected, again, those tropical storm force winds. And then this, of course, goes further north, and then it intensifies into a hurricane. How strong? We'll see about that once we cross that bridge. So a lot of uncertainty here in the forecast. How much rainfall could you see now? If we take a look at the wider map perspective on the ensemble forecast, we can see the Euro, all 51 members averaging out here with rainfall amounts between about 2 to 4 inches. Again, some of the orographic focused areas of Puerto Rico might get up to 8 or even 9 inches of rainfall, more than what the ensemble is showing, since this is a blend of possible outcomes. But most of these islands here will get significant amounts of rainfall, strong winds, and even some surf as well. Speaking of surf, when we look at the surf forecast, yeah, you don't need a hurricane or a major hurricane to lead to big problems. All you need is a lot of surf. And when we go forward in time here, by Tuesday morning, we do have wave heights of 10, even 12 feet, maybe even 14 feet here. So yeah, some areas on the northeastern side of the Caribbean here, like the northern Lesser Antilles and northern Leeward Islands, you're going to get some surf here that could be pretty significant. Some breakers, perhaps reaching heights of maybe even 18 to 20 feet. And then once this gets into the Atlantic, the central western Atlantic, yeah, look at Bermuda here. Could have surf approaching 20 feet with some breakers, perhaps even 30 or even 35 feet. Yeah, that's a big deal, even from a tropical system like this. Now, that's one model. Let's look at the GFS Wave Watch 3 model. This is showing us something similar, but because the GFS has this a little stronger, and again, further to the south, we can see wave heights over Puerto Rico are much more higher than the European model shows, possibly 10 to 15 feet. And then once this gets, say, into near Bermuda, look at this. That's Bermuda right there. I can't get any closer than that, but you can see the little island of Bermuda. Wave heights here over 35 feet. Yeah, 35 footers. That's dangerous. That is not safe. So that's why we do have to watch this. Even so, some models are downplaying the wave heights. That depends on the wind and the strength. Stronger system will have higher surf here of about, say, 30 to even 40 feet. Maximum, we don't have the maximum individual wave height on here. If we go back to the Euro, we can see the maximum individual wave height here, perhaps those breakers approaching perhaps 45 feet high. And look at some of the breakers here along the eastern seaboard approaching 15 feet, maybe even 18 feet perhaps. So yeah, there are impacts to beachgoers that want to go out there and, hey, take a visit to the beach, right, and cool off. You may not need to do that next week because of the impacts that I just described. So now, we just talked about, we're going to skip this. So the sea surface temperatures Let me zoom back out again and zoom this in a little bit so you all can see this. So you can clearly see water temperatures here, 29 to 30 Celsius over the northeastern Caribbean. So again, very conducive environment all the way up into, say, Bermuda. I don't see Bermuda here on this map. I don't know why it's not on there, but Bermuda is somewhere over here. Actually, there it is. I see Bermuda. It is right there, 29 degrees Celsius. So virtually water temperatures are not a problem with the system as it goes like this. It tracks up to the north and turns near Bermuda like that. It's going to be moving over some very warm sea surface temperatures in the low to mid 80s. So more than sustainable for a tropical storm or hurricane, maybe even a major hurricane with this as well. Okay. So now questions are going to be answered here, and I'll get to your questions towards the end of the stream. The question is here, why is this going to turn northward? Well, we've talked about how there's going to be this trough-like setup showing up here on the ensemble model on the European, and we can see that here. So if we go out to, say, 24 hours and then 48 hours, we can see this is our system right here. Here is Tropical Storm Ernesto. Again, Tropical Storm Ernesto. We're not pre-naming this because we know for a fact it's going to become named. We are 100% certain about that. Okay, and so Tropical Storm Ernesto here over these islands is going to feel the impacts here of a weakness in the ridge. So we have a ridge of high pressure over here. We have another ridge of high pressure over here, over the southern U.S. And then in between, we have this weakness of the ridge, the subtropical ridge, that will allow this to get yanked northward towards, say, Bermuda eventually in about 5 or 6 days. Because, you know, tropical systems like to find their path of least resistance. And this is the weakness out of this entire large-scale pattern that we have going on in the Atlantic. So evidently the system is going to find its way northward eventually, and that will be likely sooner rather than later. So now as we go forward, we can see here that there's a lot of split here in the model guidance. If we go and look at just, say, the GEFS or GFS forecast, we can see how this does get absorbed into this larger wave envelope. You can see that trough there, another one digging down behind it, allows this to get ushered northeastward eventually with time. As we do, again, have the ridge over here, and the system is likely to again, follow the weakness in that subtropical high. And that's what seems to be happening here on the ensembles or on the deterministic forecast from the Euro. So now we just talked about that. So now let's go to, sorry, I like to switch scenes a lot. Excuse my interruption there. So here's a better one. So looking at, this is not Invest 98L anymore. I don't know if they have updated this. Let's see. And let's see. They have not, but this will do the trick. So let's go and look at our intensity. This is the 18Z forecast. So as we do take a look at the track forecast, you can see this is still very close to Puerto Rico. This is, I mean, look at over Guadeloupe. People live in Guadeloupe over these islands. So again, people saying this is a fish storm. Again, just hold off. Just hold off on the word fish storm. I'm not trying to wish for anything here, but islands are land masses, okay? It's not ocean. This is not all ocean over here. So imagining this going this way and then turning northward, there will be a northerly turn, but it's going to come too late. Even the northernmost model here, the pink line here, still indicates that this is going to get in the range of these islands. And it's even the furthest, most western one as well. So that's why we have to watch this, okay? There's a lot of uncertainty. Actually, not a lot of uncertainty, but we know pretty well where it's going to be, but there's a little shifts here with the track, either to the southwest or towards the northeast. And that's what we will see. Does this go further west? or does this stay further to the northeast of Puerto Rico? That will be discussed once we cross that bridge. The intensity forecast is pretty much very consistent here. Where my intensity forecast, based on what we looked at again on how strong this is going to get, we are expecting this to become a tropical storm in about 36 or 48 hours for sure. Definitely a tropical storm here. And then how strong does this get? So my black line, follow my black line, is way up here. So I'm definitely at a cusp of a major hurricane here with winds of about 110, maybe even 115 miles an hour. So theoretically, Ernesto could become our second major hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season. All right, and will be our third hurricane of the season in itself. So yeah, definitely off to a busy start. Even so, we had a couple, about a few weeks of quietness. We are waking up from the dead with activity yet again. Actually, we had Debbie, excuse me there. So yeah, relatively active here still, but not like it's about to become once we go into late August into September. So right now, my intensity forecast is on the upper end like the NHC, and I do forecast this to become a category 3 with 115 mile an hour winds based on my prediction here and based on the spaghetti plot. So areas like Bermuda definitely need to be watching this. This could become our next category 3 hurricane. Our track forecast, here's a look at the ensembles from the European model. We can see that most of them do bring this over the northeastern Caribbean, and then they turn it like this to the north over Bermuda. So again, we do have a strengthening system here with winds of at least hurricane intensity. And then look at some of these models right here, some of these members right here showing major category 3 intensity. Maybe on this one, look at this one right here, category 4 or 5 hurricane on that one. We'll see if that comes to pass. Hopefully not, because boy, if this becomes a category 5 like over here, oh boy, it's going to be rough for anyone living in the eastern seaboard. But most of the guidance today keeps us way far offshore over Bermuda and over the northwestern Atlantic in the next 5 to 7 days. And we just talked about the intensity forecast. Let's take that off. There we go. And here's a look at the European ensemble forecast. Also, look at this, indicating a major hurricane. There's like 4 or 5 members here putting this at major hurricane intensity with the mean indicating a hurricane. So we are seeing a hurricane here with a lot of the models going even higher than that. And then, of course, down here, look at this run. Impressive, not even showing a tropical storm for the next several days, which is probably undercasting model. And this right up here is like one of the worst case scenarios that you can possibly get. That's close to Cat 5 up there, actually, with winds up to about 130 knots or so. So yeah, that's a look at the European ensemble forecasting model guidance. Do you guys have any questions? We have 260 people watching this live stream. Please share this with your family and friends on social media. We are going to be doing more of these live streams. I'm thinking about doing one tomorrow, just depending on my day. But we can see, be sure to also check out the Google Calendar if you haven't already. I will be making these schedules every Thursday and will be released for you all to view at any time. So make sure you stay tuned to this because this is important. This gives us what we're going to be doing on the channel. So tomorrow, we're probably going to have a double header once again, like we always do sometimes with these big events. So tomorrow is a video, again, video release here at 1 p.m. and then we go live at 7. That's a 6-hour spread. I try to keep these as far enough away possible. And then we have another stream coming up on Tuesday at 9 in the morning, followed by stream. So we can see we're doing double headers potentially, depending on the situation, all week this week, except for Friday when I won't have time and we only do one video on that day. So pretty cool stuff. You don't want to miss that because everyone asks me sometimes, how often are you going to upload? Go check out the Google Calendar. In fact, let me share this with you all while I figure this out. This is a little new to me, so hang on tight. So let me see if I can share this, or can I not share this? See here. I could share this. I forgot how to share this. Yeah, click on the link in the community post, by the way, if you guys, there's a link there. If you guys want to get the schedule, okay? Let me know if you guys in chat do have the schedule. It is important. It really is. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Is New England out of the woods? So New England right now is most likely out of the woods. If we look at our ensemble from the Euro, if I still have it up here, we can see over the next 8 to 10 days, there is no members bringing this over the northeastern seaboard or New England. So good news there for Ernesto. But for us, for you all living down here in the northern Leeward Islands, going to be pretty tough. You're going to get some impacts, rain, wind, and flooding potential. So I don't know if you guys heard me. If you guys got the Google calendars, if the link is working. Number one, do you think this could become a major hurricane? As I just said, DJ Tech and Gaming, in about 5 days, I do see this potentially becoming a major hurricane. So yes, 115 mile an hour winds are not out of the question. Do you think this could go west instead of east? Right now, for the time being, I do not see this going much further west than what we see here on the ensemble forecast. The National Hurricane Center, things could change here, but not likely or so because of the steering flow that we have to the north. We have this trough, so this is going to run into that trough, and it's going to go north. Bro, New England is not out of the woods. So, like I said, you guys are probably looking at weather nerds. I don't want to jump to the conclusion that, New England is not going to get impacted. The chances are very little. And if we go to weather nerds, if you guys are basing it off of one ensemble, just be careful. That's all I got to say. Let's take a look at that, though, anyways. 180 hours out. Let's take a look here. And still, look at this. We still have the majority of our ensembles still away from the New England coast. Surf, you're going to get surf. That is definitely a likelihood. So if you're going to the beaches, you're going to see some large waves from this system. But the good news is this is not going to impact much of the United States like we thought a couple of days ago. All right. So this is going to turn northward like this. It's going to that's what our ensembles are showing. There is some disagreement here. Like I said, there are some models that take their own sweet time and bring this even closer. So technically, there's a 1% chance. There's a non-zero chance that the New England coast could get impacted by this. How's everybody doing? I'm surprised no one even really... I'm surprised you guys... I don't know if you guys heard me or if you guys are even listening. Probably rambling too much. Sorry about that. But does the Google Calendar link work? Does it work? Because if it doesn't work, then you won't be able to see my schedule. That's important, so for you all to frequently check out. Because I feel like I'm doing too many community posts on saying I'm going to upload on this day. So I figured, let's try Google Calendars to see if that actually works. If it's going to work well. That's great that you all are doing good. Where is it? So the Google Calendar link I'm going to put a link, if I could be able to share this. There we go. That's why. Get shareable link. So this is the link to the calendar. If you guys want to check that out, right there. I just sent it. Let me know if it actually works, because then you can kind of get an idea what I'm going to be uploading next. So it does work. That's good. I'm doing very good, Latex Dreams. By the way, welcome to the stream, by the way. If you're new, share, like, and subscribe. I want to thank you all for watching my video yesterday. We actually got that out to 70,000 people. So I do appreciate that. And some people even said I'm one of the best weather YouTubers out there on the tropics. So that really is important, because that means I'm doing the right thing. So thank you to those that actually gave some good credibility to me on that. I don't like hyping things up, but sometimes it does need to be done, because again, land masses are where people live. Thank you so much. So for the people that were able to access that link, this will update every Thursday evening. All right. Simply come back on Fridays and click on the link, and you'll see a different schedule based on my availability. It changes each week. So this is important, because that way you can be like, oh, David's going to upload on August the 15th at, say, 9 in the morning, followed by a stream at 4 in the afternoon. Now, the streams are more uncertain. I want to make that clear. So this schedule will be adjusted. It's not like, oh, what you see on Saturday is what I'm going to be doing. Things are going to be going back and forth based on the availability. Can the track shift west? The track may shift west a little bit. Nick Smith, we're not done seeing the adjustments, especially since we don't have a circulation yet. So if we look at the map here, actually, let's go to Tropical Tidbits again. Actually, let's go to... Actually, we'll just do Tropical Tidbits. It's probably more user-friendly. And then let's go over here. So on the GFS model, we are not done seeing these shifts. In other words, if we go back and look at different models, we can see how this is moving around. Now it's recently trended west again. We'll see if that trend continues. Okay? We'll see if that trend continues. But right now, I would say it's going to pass just to the north of Puerto Rico, but it's not going to really matter a whole lot, because you are going to see tropical storm force winds as this moves over. Thank you, Nick Smith. I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that again, Nick Smith. So the vorticity, yes. So this is the vorticity plot. So this is basically, so I want to kind of describe this, what this actually is, and why I use it in these videos and live streams. So what the vorticity plot is, it's basically a mathematical image equation taken into account on how much vorticity, how much rotation velocity there is throughout the low levels of the atmosphere. So the darker red colors that you see here on your screen indicate that there's a lot more spin going on in the atmosphere. And we can see where these pockets of energy are in the deep tropics. So this gives me an idea that, oh, we have a tropical wave here. We have a disturbance that we need to watch. Does it congeal into something like this? If you want to know what a hurricane looks like, or a major hurricane looks like on a vorticity model, this is exactly the example that we look for. Folks, that's a textbook of a major hurricane on the GFS model. on this particular model with that vorticity plot, okay? And this is what we use because it gives us the lower parts of the atmosphere, and it gives us the low-level winds, our steering flow in the low levels. Then you get, and you go up, you can look at the 500 millibar steering as well. That gives a similar picture, but only now we use 500 millibar heights and geopotential. In other words, this is like a topographical map of the atmosphere. Troughs have lower heights and ridges have higher heights. So we can see where the alleyway here is. You can see ridge here, trough here, you get your movement in that general direction. That's why the system is going to turn northward. Versus if we had a ridge here and a ridge here, then the system would get trapped underneath these two ridges, just like Debbie did when it moved over Georgia and it stalled out for at least a couple of days. We're not seeing that here. We have trough on one side, ridge on the other side. That's going to allow the system to move north. Even so, some of you are probably mentioning a YouTuber with negativity, though. I'll tell you, though, the only thing I absolutely love to watch about Weatherman Plus is his commentary. Just the way he describes things. I just love it. I really do. I really do. Weatherman Plus, no offense. I love watching you. I love your commentary if you're watching this. I like just how he says, you know, happy Sunday, everybody. It's Weatherman Plus. We got a lot of information about this potential Cat 4 hurricane getting possibly close to the United States, depending on the steering flow, this trough. You know, I just love his commentary. I really do. I really do. And I just love how he makes his thumbnails. I mean, they're just, I don't know. I know, DJ, yeah. Also, by the way, we need to watch what comes off of Africa too later on in the period. We do have another tropical wave. No, I'm not trying to hype things up, but I'm telling you, folks, you know what's coming. Okay, favorable environment here with the MJO, and then we have another wave here. And look at this, we got another wave over here. Not saying that's going to develop. If we look at the 12Z run, though, hardly anything. I feel like the GFS is underdoing things with what comes off of Africa, and I'm not too concerned, but you know, you gotta watch these things. These can kind of pop up out of nowhere. What's up, Cheesy Weather? How are you doing? Oh, I know he did, DJ Tech. That's, you know, don't laugh at me, folks. Don't make fun of me in this point. That's what I love about Weatherman Plus. His clickbait is actually funny. It literally is hilarious. It really is. Sorry, Weatherman Plus, not trying to be rude. You are good at you're a good creator at making thumbnails. Sometimes they're funny, you know. I can't explain it. I really can't. The way he describes things is just the way he does. It just I love watching him, but I don't like watching him. It's just kind of the two extremes, you know? I just like his commentary. His commentary is wonderful. He does follow me here on YouTube, so of course I gotta give some credit to him. You know, I don't want to make him upset or say bad things about another YouTuber. I'm not here for that. Please, you know, sometimes you just gotta admire someone's artwork. It just kind of, you look at it and like, you just kind of have to laugh at it. You just kind of have to like, you're so funny. You're putting arrows pointing to Texas at a Cat 5 hurricane. Come on, dude. Come on. So, yeah. So as far as the intensity now, sometimes I do jump the gun a little bit, and I do apologize in a couple of videos ago if I said, let me see if I could find it right here. Since we're live, we're going to be live for another 30 minutes or so. So ask your questions, folks, and everything. It doesn't even have to be with weather. Ask me about YouTube, my channel, and stuff. Sometimes, so I wanted to just kind of discuss this really quickly with my channel, is that I know some of you are saying it's kind of clickbaity, but to be honest, to be real here, that's part of the YouTube marketing industry business. Okay, you do not want bland, boring looking thumbnails. You just don't want black and whites on the thumbnails. You have to have some color and some attention, like a little bit of a grab to the thumbnail. So that is why this is a style I am going to stick with. Okay, and I am careful with where I put things on the thumbnail. Like you can see, yesterday's guidance had this close to the United States. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to evidently put question marks with yellow on there. I'm very aware I have my boundaries, folks. Don't worry. I'm not like other YouTubers out there that will go crazy with this and everything. And high alert describes that, hey, this has a high alert. We got to be aware of this. This can't take our focus off of. So I know some comments out there said, hey, David, clickbaity, stop the clickbait. I'll tell you right now, there's other YouTube channels out there that do it 10 times worse than me. I'm not going to mention those channels in this live stream, but I'll tell you what. I'm not the worst one out there, okay? Which, by the way, I wanted to mention something for those that are still watching this. My click-through rate is actually around 30 to 40%. So that means while it is clickbait, watch the video. Okay, just watch the video and you'll see I don't say Cat 5 hurricane or Cat 4 hurricane like other YouTubers will say, you know. So this is what we're watching right now, is this tropical system. Also, curious about the channel. If you guys want to check out my winter forecast, be sure to check that out. That already has 10,000 views, so thank you all for viewing it. So be sure to check that out. I will have another one out in late September sometimes. I'm going to try to squeeze one in there. And then that will be probably even September 15th, maybe September 21st. Actually, I'll do one on September 21st probably. And that will be part of the Google Calendar, so stay tuned for that with upcoming Thursdays on that. Yep, of course, DJ. So do you guys have any questions about this? I started doing YouTube back in 2017. Yeah, update has shifted more east, yes. Let's see here. Did it shift east? Let me look at the archives. So, see, I'm probably, unless it does something really crazy, I may not even go live tomorrow on this, if necessary. So I might just stick to the videos instead. So if we actually go, oh man, I wish they actually had yeah, we're not able to see this. I'll take your word for it though, Justin Wilson, that it did shift a little further to the east. So you can see that there, just a little bit, it moved over, but still in line with Bermuda, potentially. He meant west? Oh! Wait, what? So he meant west. Okay, then that's not good. So we will have to watch this. Let's see what the NHC will do with this. Let me go back to my graphics. We will see in future outlooks. The only way this is not going to go north is if it literally has to go due west. I mean, it has to do this and then go like this. I'm not even going to even predict that. There is going to be some movement to the northwest and then turning to the north eventually. But still, people, you all under tropical storm watches, if you're under a watch, you're going to get impacted. You could get impacted. And yes, these are the islands that this encompasses. So do not take your eyes off of good old PTC 5, which soon to become Ernesto. This is moving pretty quickly too at 23 miles an hour. So this is moving at an awfully fast rate. Dane, Clement, yes. There will be more tropical waves coming off of Africa. If we actually look at the 850 millibar layer, we do have another tropical wave after Ernesto, a weak one, nothing to be concerned about right now, but there is Ernesto. Here's a little bit of a surprise of development, maybe. That could be an extra tropical cyclone only briefly. Probably it's not going to get named. But then this is going to be our next one. Oh, wait, actually, you know what? That might be another system we may have to watch. Never mind. I thought that was just kind of forming off of a cold front. Actually, this system, we may have to watch this surprise development. And actually, that is a broad tropical wave. Very weak, very broad. But we all know what happened from Debbie. That thing was broad to begin with. And guess what happened? Debbie managed to become a Cat 1 hurricane. So we will have to see what happens with this system if it gets into the Gulf. But that is very far out in time. I'm not too worried. Not at all. I'm not. But it does tell us things could get favorable for tropical development with that wave over the Gulf if it's broad enough. And then we have another system out here in the central tropical Atlantic. There's another tropical wave. And this, because the ridge is like this, it's underneath that ridge a little more deeper. If we go to the 500 millibar height map right here, it is the ridge axis is over here even. So it is right to the southeast of that. So that's not going to be able to gain latitude as easily as what we have with Ernesto, or what will soon be Ernesto. So the tropics, we're not going to be able to take our eyes off the tropics at all because of that situation. And if we go and look at Model Lab, and let's go and look at the European model velocity potential here, you will see, let this load, favorability here. And it looks like, only briefly, are we going to have unfavorable, well, not really unfavorable conditions, but we probably have another outbreak of a convective coupled Kelvin wave that could soon move into the Atlantic towards the end of the period here. So this would be through the 26th of August. We could have another favorable period. And then, of course, you have a lot of your upward motion over Africa. We are not done. Okay, just because models are not showing anything right now does not mean they won't show anything through the end of August. Don't take models to salt on that, because we are going to see changes. These systems could pop out of the blue like we were seeing on the GFS model. And here's another tropical wave. And the APHIS model doesn't do a whole good job on that. But let's take a look at the control run. It's actually the wrong run. Here we go. So we can see there's your tropical wave right there that tries to develop. We'll see if that does anything. And then look at this. Look what we got on the control run. Maybe another system. And guess what the GFS shows? Let's look at the GFS. Same area too. Same area. Only not as intense like the Euro is showing. So maybe another system way down there, way far out in time. But again, we'll see if it develops. We will see. Too far out. But it is interesting. That is in the same area like what the Euro control member, the ensemble control is like. That right there, my folks, definitely has an opportunity of going much further west. And that's what we expect strong ridge to the north. These systems are going to try to go further west, unfortunately impacting land areas. But again, 360 hours out, the end of August, towards the end of August, but I'm telling you, look what we got going on. Favorable conditions, that MJO at work, and a convective coupled Kelvin wave certainly begs the question of what might end up coming out of this in late August. So, yeah. Yes, Daniel, yes, it will turn northward. It will turn northward. Most likely. There's going to be a turn to the north. This doesn't have a chance of impacting Florida at the moment. I don't see any impacts to Florida, so that's good. Check mark for them. Dominican Republic, you're not out of the woods yet. I'm not confident in that, and definitely not Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico will get some sort of impacts. And again, for those people that are watching, definitely let's not dismiss PTC 5. Even so it's a fish storm, and I talked about this, even so it's a fish storm, the swells are going to be high. They're going to be high and they're going to be intense. And you can see this. Go to the eastern seaboard really quickly. Look at this. What do we have? We have surf. And that's where people live. What about Barbados? So Barbados, as far as the surf goes, it's not going to show Barbados. So we have to use the Caribbean sector. So Barbados, definitely going to get some surf and some heavy rainfall. That is a guarantee. And if we actually zoom in, actually, let's go and look at the H wharf. And then we'll look at the HMON. So we have that model, and we can see that the system does try to get organized as a strong tropical storm or a Category 1 hurricane. When we look at the HMON, it's a little further to the north. Okay, it is a little further to the north. And then it also strengthens it a little more, which, by the way, there is Bermuda. There is Bermuda. There's your island right in there. And this system is going to come close to hitting Bermuda in about a little over 5 days, probably 5 to 7 days in that range. Ooh, boy, what just happened there? Crazy phone. By the way, we are so close to 25,000 subs, so I want to thank you all for getting me close to that already, and it's only August, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. We are not far. We are only 30 subs away from 25,000. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. We started off the season, hurricane season, June 1st, with only 20,010 subs it was. And now we're only on the 11th of August, and we're already almost or at 25,000. So I do appreciate your guys' support, because, boy, it's not easy. This is not easy stuff. I'm not going to bed. I'm not sleeping a lot at night, because not only do these systems interest me or are exciting to track, but they're also concerning at the same time. So I haven't been sleeping very well at night. I really haven't. So alt accounts probably not going to be good, because YouTube tends to delete those alt accounts eventually, David. YouTube. Is there a chance that this shifts more further west? Well, for the help of that, let's take a look at the GFS, and let's look at past several runs. So I'm gonna do a dot to dot. Who likes dot to dot? Like connecting the dots. If you do, let me know in chat because that's what we're going to do. So this is the 18Z model run. Let me make the dot a little bit bigger. So here's a look at it. Sure, why not? Here's the 18Z run. That's the current run. Here's a 12Z run. Same time again. This is Saturday, August the 18th. Same time. Not changing anything. And then you can see here with past model runs, it's all over the place. So if we go back and back and back on this. Actually, you know what? Let me zoom in. Why is it full screen giving me a little bit of trouble? So let's do that again. So we'll actually do 6 days. So here's day 6. Let's go back. So you can see on some runs, it's a little faster. We go back again. It is really close. So if we go a little further back, we definitely have had a trend towards the east, though, on average. Because you can see where all the models have had this. Even over here. And GFS going crazy. So you can see in relative sense, it's been pretty consistent earlier on that, oh, this could get really close to Florida. If we go back a few more runs, you can see that it hasn't changed overall in its spectacle. So this is going all the way out. We'll go just to 10 days. This was a 10-day forecast, and this was initialized on 18Z on August the 7th. And you can see all the dots. Look at all those dots showing us where the center has been. And we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We're almost like 20 model runs. So this is important. And in recent models, this has trended a little bit overall, a little bit to the east on average. I'm looking at a net weighted average, not like on one individual model run. Okay. So right now, Bermuda is still in striking distance of Ernesto once it does get named from the National Hurricane Center. But yeah, connect the dots. Let's see if we can make an image out of this. Let's see. Oh, and I forgot one dot. That's fine though. So look at that. I connected most of the dots pretty much. And that's what I got. Looks like a little 5, doesn't it? So that's really important on where this actually goes. And you can still see there is clearly uncertainties. And that does hit Bermuda actually head on. That goes right over Bermuda. That's a bad situation. Looks like a bottom half of a supercell. I did not even realize that. So, yeah, we're really going to have to watch this. We really will have to. And then maybe systems after that. Again, when you look at the models, don't think that, oh, nothing more is going to develop after this system. Unusual to see deadness out there in late August. Don't take your eyes off the Atlantic. I promise you, do not. It's not a good idea. It really isn't. Even so, there's sinking motion over the Atlantic. Just remember, there's a lot of upward motion still over India, and that could still open things up quite dramatically for tropical development. Will summer 2025 be hot? Oh my goodness, that's way too far out. That's like 11 months out. 11 months, one summer at a time. one summer at a time. Will we have a La Nina August and September? Yes, Dane Clement. There are signs that the trade winds over the north, over the tropical Pacific will be strengthening. We have a lot of trade winds that are going to be in place here. Look at over the eastern Pacific. Definitely some strong trade winds that are going to be in place. Really strong trade winds. So I'm definitely guaranteeing that La Nina will be strengthening pretty quickly towards the last half of August. Also, check out my winter forecast after this tropical update. If you guys haven't already, please do so, because I am going to be making another winter forecast. My second one, I usually try to do 3 winter forecasts, but I'll probably only do 2 this year. And I know there has been some issues with my snowfall outlook. I probably will take that off the next winter forecast. We'll have to see if I can make tweaks to it, because boy, it was not easy to make that. It really was not easy. When is the next guidance runs? 0Z, my friend. 0Z. We will get our new updates. Actually, we just got an update. Is this the new H-Warp? I think, yes, it is. The new H-Warp is out. The new H-Warp, and it's actually weaker. It's actually weaker, it looks like. Yeah, because there's no hurricane here. Incredible to see that, but it does still strengthen to a 947 millibar system. See what our HMON shows. That 18Z did come out, and that really does take a longer time to get organized, but once it does, it strengthens. These 2 hurricane models, not too aggressive on this forecast. See the Halves A though. Halves A likes it just right off the coast there of Puerto Rico. And then here's the Halves B. The Halves B going a little more aggressive with that, with hurricane force winds developing. So there has been some downtrends on the guidance on the 18Z run. What's up, Lego Train? How are you doing? But this is definitely a wet system. Even for Puerto Rico there, you can definitely see Puerto Rico going to get a lot of impacts. There's really no perfect model, Lord Ethan 24. I would say the most accurate would probably be, sometimes it's the H-Warp, sometimes it's a Halves B, but the Halves B hasn't done too bad this hurricane season. So when looking at a hurricane model, I would say the Halves A and B are very reliable models, but you can't take your focus off the H-Warp. Each system's different. Each model handles each system differently. So we got to understand that, okay? Because maybe the H-Warp does really well with PTC 5 versus the Halves A and the Halves B. You got to understand that. Each situation is different. Each one's different. David, will it rain in Houston? We need rain here. Let's see. Doesn't look like it. Probably not until Thursday, the 22nd of August, but only a little bit of rain is expected. You're maybe a pop-up shower or two, and that's all you're going to see. You're not going to see a whole lot of rain, it looks like, based on the guidance. Potentially, over the next, say, 10 days, you might only see 1/10 of an inch or less, and maybe only about 1/2 an inch or less in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm sorry, you need rain, but looks like it's not going to come. More importantly, I want to see the Gulf of Mexico, how warm that's going to get. It definitely warming up there over the next couple of weeks, perhaps. Also, look at the Gulf of Mexico really quickly. The Gulf is definitely really warm. As we talked about, wow, that is very warm right here. Almost 32 Celsius right off the coast of Louisiana. Look at this. Even the Texas coast, seeing water temperatures approaching the low 90s. So this is not a good situation. These waters are really going to warm up over the next couple of weeks because the trade winds, the wind flow over this area is going to be very light. Yeah, you can see Debbie's upwelling. Yeah, I do agree. There it is. Some of the cooler waters, but still, look at that. I want you all to understand that is still 30 Celsius. That is still mid-80s over this area. Even the upwelling still makes the Gulf more than warm enough to support intense hurricanes. But unlike this, the western and central Gulf are 31 Celsius. So I'm not saying that this is going to be bad news this season, but if the background state becomes conducive over the Gulf, look out. That's all I got to say. Just be careful. It may not end very well. Or it won't end very well because the background state is this favorable. Yeah. I'm just saying. So any questions? Any more questions? Be sure you do check out the winter forecast again on my YouTube channel. It's right here. You cannot miss it. Winter 2024-25 forecast. And also, we will keep you updated here. Before I do in the video, or the live stream, I should say, one last check here. Be sure you do keep the link to my Google Calendar in mind, okay? I will be updating this every Thursday. I might be adjusting this daily based on demand of what needs to be done for the channel and updates here on the system. I'm going to be doing some changes, so make sure you check this frequently, possibly at least every day, once a day or twice a day, because this could get adjusted based on demand, okay? Please understand that. If I remove some of these streams, I might just upload at 1 o'clock. Actually, I can't do it on Tuesday or Friday. I'll have to figure that out. But please be sure you do have the link. All right, I've said it too many times. Sorry about that, but like, important, it really is. Without a schedule, you won't. I mean, it's an offer that I give to you all that is free. That is free. I clicked on the calendar, it doesn't work. So the calendar link does not work. Let me click on it. It works for me. I just clicked on it. Thank you for the $4 donation, Lisa Leon. I do appreciate that. So the link is not working, folks. And that's a disappointment. I really hope it does work. What's up, Viper King? How are you doing? You got a check mark, which means you have more than 100,000 subs. And you do. Oh my gosh, I love your thumbnails. Little channel review. Sorry, when we get a VIP on the channel here, I do like the hurricane thumbnails. So yeah, 212,000 subscribers. Congratulations. I like the yellow snake. Viper King. We got to be very careful. He has Viper in his system. Viper blood. Thank you, cool guy with a cool beanie. Thank you so much. So does the link work? Someone said it did not work. Hey, also, if you want to shout me out in one of your videos, Viper King, you're more than happy to if you want. So, yeah. It works, so the link works. That is good. Because if the link works, we are good on that. We are good because then you guys can get my schedule. My upload schedule can be found here clearly on the Google thing, on the Google calendars. That's what's amazing about it, because you can share it. Okay, stop the rating, folks. Please stop the rating in the chat. Please. Please, please, please. Yes, the link works, but nothing shows up on the calendar. Oh, shoot. Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't this work? We're going to get this working, and then I'll head off. Make available to public. So it should work. Get shareable link. Copy link. This should work. Boy, if it doesn't work, though, then I do not know what to do. Maybe I'll just have to screenshot the schedule. All right, anyways, I'm going to head off because it is 5:30, and that's the end of this live stream. Be sure you do subscribe, hit the like button, and share this live stream with your family and friends on social media. I will be back tomorrow with more updates on this disturbance as long as it remains a threat to the Lesser Antilles, as well as even the Greater Antilles and Bermuda. Yes, Bermuda needs to be watching this system closely as this remains a threat. All right. Okay, just click or tap add. But I have to add everyone individually. Okay, you know what? Here it is. I think this will work. Let me know if this works now. Try that. Try that. Before I go. Yeah, I did. See if that link works now. Now works? Good. So that is the link that we need. Public URL to this calendar. That's the link that we need. And that should be good. Now it works. Okay. Titan doesn't work, and then I will head off. Because I want you guys to be up in the loop of what I am uploading, what I'm doing. And then I will say goodbye once I get an answer from someone or enough. of those answers. Now it works. It does. So you can see everything on there. Perfect, 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 perfect. Okay, because that is important, because then that way, because there will be changes. Save that link in your browser. It should be, I shouldn't have to update it every time, because I will be doing some changes. I might adjust things, so be sure to frequently check it out. All right. But otherwise, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great night, and share, like, and subscribe, and I'll be back with you tomorrow.